tympanic cavity. The middle ear cavity resembles the rectangle. It has got the roof, so this will be the roof, then the floor, anterior wall, the posterior wall. The lateral wall has been removed, so what you are seeing is the medial wall. 6. So the roof, posterior wall, the floor, the anterior wall and medial wall. Dimensions, it is the anteroposteriorly it is 15 centimeters, then vertical again 15 centimeters, whereas horizontally, because of the approximation of medial and lateral wall, the transverse diameter or horizontal diameter, so the cavity becomes narrower in the middle. It's about 2 centimeters, and above it is 6 centimeters, and below it is 4 centimeters. Because of the infolding of medial and lateral wall, the transverse or horizontal diameter is reduced in the middle, and it is about 6 centimeters, 4 centimeters and 2 centimeters. Coming to the detailed description of the middle ear cavity. So this will be the roof, and this is posterior aspect, mastoid process, the styloid process, then anterior wall, inferior wall and posterior. So this will be the roof, this is anterior wall, floor, then posterior wall. Lateral wall has been removed, mainly made up of tympanic membrane, and what you are seeing here is the medial wall. Roof is mainly formed by the thin plate of bone. This bone you call it as tegmen tympani. Tegmen tympani belong to petrous part of the temporal bone. So roof is formed by tegmen tympani belonging to the petrous part of the temporal bone. The roof separates the temporal lobe of the brain or the middle cranial fossa with the middle ear cavity. Now coming to the anterior wall. Anterior wall has got 2 openings. Number 1 above is the opening for the muscle, what you call as tensor tympani. The tensor tympani takes origin from cartilaginous part of the auditory tube and enters the canal. This is additus for tensor tympani. So this is the canal, makes an acute bend, gets inserted into malleus. So I will come to the detail when I come to the muscles. So this is number 1, the additus of tensor tympani. The next opening is opening of the auditory tube. Auditory tube opens into the anterior wall of the tympanic cavity. Opening of auditory tube. Beneath the auditory tube, there is a thin plate of bone. This thin plate of bone separates the tympanic cavity from internal carotid artery. So the anterior wall is also called as carotid wall because the main important relation is internal carotid artery in the carotid canal. So along with internal carotid artery, you do find the sympathetic plexus surrounding the internal carotid artery, and these plexus enter the anterior wall through small openings along with the branches of internal carotid artery. These you call keratotympanic branches. Branches of sympathetic plexus as well as the branch from internal carotid artery. This whole thing is the anterior wall. Anterior wall is formed mainly by the adductus or group or tensor tympani muscle. Then auditory tube. Auditory tube is bounded by bony portion. There is a small projection from the bony portion to the tendon of tensor tympani. This projection you call it as trochleoformis. Trochleoformis. A small split of bone from the groove or auditory tube extending onto the tendon of tensor tympani. Beneath the auditory tube, you have internal carotid artery along with sympathetic plexus and carotico-tympanic branches from the artery as well as from sympathetic plexus. Coming to the floor of the tympanic cavity, the floor of the tympanic cavity is formed by the tegmen tympani. The floor is formed by the jugular fossa, and the important content is internal jugular vein. So this floor is also called as jugular. The floor is also called as jugular pod. So this is internal jugular vein. This is the jugular fossa. Apart from that, between the internal jugular vein, there is a small opening through which the tympanic branch of glossopharyngeal nerve emerges. This you call tympanic branch of 9th cranial nerve. Tympanic canalicus, through which tympanic branch of 9th cranial nerve emerges and forms tympanic plexus around a structure here in the medial wall, call it as promontory. I will come to the medial wall later. The floor is called as the jugular wall. The jugular wall is mainly related to internal jugular vein, and the tympanic branch of 9th cranial nerve emerges from tympanic canalicus. So that is floor. So we have learnt about roof, the anterior wall, then floor. Coming to the posterior wall. Posterior wall is called as mastoid wall. This is mastoid process. This is styloid process. So posterior wall is called as mastoid wall. So there is a small opening where the middle ear communicates with the mastoid antrum. This is mastoid antrum. This is adductus for mastoid antrum. Adductus means opening. Adductus for mastoid antrum. That is opening into in the posterior wall. Number 1, you find the adductus for mastoid antrum, where the tympanic cavity communicates with mastoid antrum. beneath inferiorly you find a small air-filled spaces in the mastoid process. You call them as mastoid air cells. So the tympanic cavity posteriorly communicate with number 1 mastoid antrum and mastoid air cells. So that is one of the important structure. Another important structure you find in the posterior wall is the facial canal. The facial canal extends from upper portion of the medial wall to the posterior wall. The facial nerve is the main content of that. So this facial nerve, as it passes from upper portion of medial wall and posterior wall of the middle ear cavity, emerges through stylomastoid foramen into the parotid gland. So another important structure in the posterior wall is facial canal. Another important structure is facial canal. So beneath where the facial nerve enters the middle ear cavity in the upper medial wall, then onto the posterior wall, emerge out through stylomastoid foramen to the parotid region. Next, there is a small muscle here where this nerve supplies in the posterior wall. This small muscle attached to the stapes. This muscle you call it as stapedius. So facial nerve, as it emerges, it gives a branch to stapedius, supplying the stapedius also. So in the posterior wall you have adductus for mastoid antrum, where it communicates with mastoid antrum and mastoid air cell. Next is the facial canal. Next is the stapedius muscle. This stapedius muscle is embedded in bone. You call it as pyramid. This is embedded in the bone. You call it as the pyramid. So pyramid is also a content of the feature of posterior wall, and there is a small opening here. This is posterior canaliculus for conda tympani. So the parasympathetic fibers which emerge out enters the posterior canaliculus and come out to the anterior canaliculus. So this you call posterior canaliculus for conda tympani nerve. So these are all important features in the posterior wall of the middle ear cavity. Now coming to the medial wall. The medial wall, there is a small bulge into the medial wall of the middle ear cavity. This bulge you call it as promontory. Promontory is the major feature of the medial wall. So on towards the middle ear cavity, the promontory is covered by the tympanic branch of the 9th cranial nerve. These keratico-tympanic branches from sympathetic plexus also joins it to form tympanic plexus. And this promontory is produced by the first turn of cochlea. So the first turn, cochlea has got 2.5 turns. The bulge is produced by the first turn or the basal turn of cochlea. Basal turn of cochlea. So towards the middle ear cavity, it is covered by the tympanic plexus. Towards the inner ear, promontory is mainly produced by the projection of basal turn of the cochlea. Beneath the promontory, just posterior to the promontory, is fossa fossa cochlea.